Good morning, everyone. Here is charity. Let's begin the day by giving charity. Sion b'mishpat v'shavet tzedakah, and it's the Jewish people redeemed by giving charity. That's the purpose of the Jewish people, to bring blessing to the entire physical world. Now, let us conclude what we have been learning up to now in the Dvar Malchut. As you recall, as you recall, we're learning about this week's Torah portion, which is called Going Out to War, and how it's connected to next week's Torah portion, which is going to be read also this coming Shabbat, but on Mincha, in the afternoon prayer. And that's Ki Tavo. And there are two opposites. Ki Tetzei L'Milchama is you go out to war. You have to strive and work. And Ki Tavo L'Oretz is when the Jewish people come to the land of Israel. That's the reward for the work. That's the reward. And in a big way, it means the reward is Mashiach, when all the Jewish people will come to the land of Israel. Ki Tavo L'Oretz. Mashiach will build a holy temple and draw all the Jews to Israel. So the Rebbe asks, how can there be both of these two things simultaneously, especially because essentially they are opposites, total opposites. Ki Tetzei L'Milchama is talking about now when we're in the time of exile, and there's a lot of work to be done. And we cannot rest. And we have to fight against bad. We have to fight against our own bad images, our own bad urges and ideas and feelings and thoughts that pop into our mind, etc. And that's Ki Tetzei L'Milchama, that's going out to war. And Ki Tavo L'Oretz is talking about the reward that the Jewish people will receive. That's talking about coming into the land of Israel and the Holy Land. All the Jewish people will feel that they're holy, to do the holy commandments, and to feel all the potential will be revealed. So how can there be these two things, total opposites at the same time? So I'm just making a short summary of what we learned up to now. So the Rebbe said, well, we have to look a little bit at the Jewish soul. Jewish soul. Excuse me, this woman. You have to look at the Jewish soul. The Jewish soul originated before the world was created. In fact, God consulted with the Jewish soul before he created the world. What does this mean? We can have absolutely no idea what it means. We don't know what it means that God created the world. What does that mean that he created the world? How did he do that? We don't see any example of creation at all. You can't see any example of creation, because creation means something from nothing. We don't know what nothing is. We don't know what nothing is. But nevertheless, God did do it, and he's doing it all the time. He's creating the world constantly. He's creating all being constantly. He's creating all time constantly. And so as a result, if time is only a creation, and the Jewish people were preceding before the whole concept of time even existed, the Jewish people are more real than time, because the Jewish people are one with God. That's what the Rebbe is saying. And we can't take this in any sort of a normal way of understanding, but it's true. I mean, another basic thing of Judaism is that we don't really know what truth is. We don't really know what truth is. After a person dies, he gets a little bit of a glimpse of what is truth. It says the heaven is called Olam HaEmet, the world of truth, after a person dies, because this world is filled of lies. But in fact, this world, when you remove the lies, when you rearrange the world, so this world is much, much closer to the essence of God than heaven is. That's really truth, this physical world. I mean, going to heaven is after you die. There's such a thing as death. The souls will leave heaven and come back to this world. And so the heavens depend on the fact that this world is a big lie. Heaven depends on it. So, but in the future, when Mashiach comes, Ki Tavo L'Oretz, there won't be any more lies. There won't be any more heaven. Heaven will empty out. I guess it says there's some people that will get punished. It says there's some people that hell will stop, but their punishment won't stop. I don't know exactly what that means. But however God's going to work it out, is going to work it out. But essentially, if Adam would not have eaten good morning from the tree, there wouldn't be any such thing as heaven. So they'll be revealed in this world God's essence. That's kitabo al. How can that be simultaneously the essence of God revealed, where there won't be any bad and there won't be any death, with now that we're definitely in the world where we do have to work, and there definitely is bad and there definitely is death? How can it be? So it says, because the Jewish people are rooted in the essence of God's being. Before time was created, before space was created, before anything was created, there's the Jewish people. What does that mean, that the Jewish people were there? That God saw the pleasure that he would get from the Jewish people serving him in this time of exile. And it was worthwhile for him to create the world for that. And this is above time we're talking about. So as a result, if a Jewish person realizes that in God's essence, the redemption was already here, that's the whole purpose of creating the world, was the redemption. And because by God, there is no such thing as time, so therefore the future redemption exists right now. And it's here right now. And even though this is what I'm saying is totally ridiculous, it makes absolutely no sense, but it's the truth. Because we don't know what truth really is in this world. So it's really true. So therefore, God wants us to work, and God wants every detail in the world to be exactly the way it is, but that it should not conduct itself the way it is. It should not have the attitude the way it does. The world should feel that God is creating it, which is the truth. So therefore, there can be two of them simultaneously. At the same time that you work, you're also receiving the reward. That's also commensurate to the saying in Judaism, schar mitzvah mitzvah. The reward of a commandment is the commandment itself. Because when you do a commandment, you're attached to God above time, above space, above all human comprehension. But it's right here in the world. That's what Yesh L'Kasher says. We can attach this to what now we're reading, the Torah portion now. I'm sorry, the time. Yesh L'Kasher, we can attach what we just finished saying to the content of the time, this time of the week, the year, that we're reading these two Torah portions, going to war and coming to the land of Israel, doing work and receiving the reward at the same time. How? Let's look at the time when it's being read, because everything that happens in the world is a creation of God. God is creating it, and he's creating it with a purpose. And everything is connected to everything else, everything. That's what are called the butterfly effect, whatever. So, but it's true, it really is true. And if you do one good deed, then you have a positive effect on the whole world. So everything that's happening on the world, time, space, is reflected in every other detail. So especially in details of the Torah, and especially holidays of the Torah. What is it? There's a connection to the Torah portion that is in, and especially the time that it's read in, and that's the month of Elul. The month of Elul is the last month of the year. That in it, we make a accounting of the service of the whole entire year. Now again, man is created to utilize his free will. Only man has free will. Angels don't have free will. They don't have free will. Okay, there's questions that can be asked on that, but nevertheless, angels don't have free will. The only place where there is free will is humans. That's one of the meanings that man is created in the image of God. That nothing is really forcing us to, except when we're in certain situations. But generally speaking, man has free will. And even if a person is in the worst situation in the world, a Jew is in Auschwitz, whatever, he sees is on the way to being killed, whatever, so you figure he's got no free choice. He has a free choice to choose his attitude. To choose his attitude. A person could say, listen, my situation is bad enough. I'm sick. I lost everything. I'm not going to lose my attitude, my mood. You can choose that. So a person can always choose. Ideally, it's not supposed to be that we're in such situations as Auschwitz or whatever like that. Even though you have no way of knowing, just to take an example, we have no way of knowing. It could be that a person changing his attitude at the last moments of his life in Auschwitz, right, to say, nevertheless, I'm going to be positive, I'm sure this says something good, that could have more positive effect on the world than all of my Torah and commandments and good deeds that I do. It could be, can't tell. because it's a certainly a more of a change of human nature. And that's why God created the world, that we should direct our nature to Him, the Creator. Okay, but let's go back to this. Nevertheless, now we're not in Auschwitz. In some ways, we're in a worse situation. Why? Because the choices are not clear in front of us. We're clear. We have to serve God. It's not clear what exactly God is. It's not clear exactly what a Jew is, what right and wrong is. It says that's the month of Elul. The month of Elul. We can read in the Torah what's right, but our heart tells us to do something else. We can read in the Torah what says that's wrong, but our heart tells us that we should do it. So we have to make the choice. Should we listen to what's right or should we listen to what we feel? Sometimes we feel what's right, that we also have to discern between that. So it says, in the month of Elul, that's the month of reckoning, of accounting of the previous year, in order to fix up everything, all the bad choices that we made in the previous year. Maybe we did the commandments, but we didn't do it in a genuine way. We didn't do it in a happy way. We didn't connect it to the Creator. Serving God and learning Torah and commandments, prayer, and doing good deeds, giving charity. Al Yadeh, by means of tshuva. That's the month of Elul, the month of tshuva. Like it's hinted, and it says, Bachta et avia ve'timea yerech yamim. Our Torah portion starts off with the idea of tshuva in the month of Elul. How? It says, when a soldier, a Jewish soldier, goes out to war, and he sees a beautiful woman, a non-Jewish woman, and he desires her. So it says he can have relations with her, sexual relations with her, one time. And then he has to take her to his house, and she has to sit there like in her like prisoner clothes for 1 month. I mean, you treat her nicely and feed her, etc., but she has to look, as unattractive as possible. And then she has to decide if she wants to convert or not. And then if she does, you can marry. So it says she sits in your house for 1 month and weeps for her mother and father for 1 month. And that should be enough for you to say, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. It was permissible in the time of battle, the heat of battle. The Torah permits this activity. I don't think it permits it now, but back then, there's a lot of conditions that are involved. But anyway, in the time of when they were conquering the land of Israel, so it says that she will sit in your house and weep for her mother and father 1 month. Now, what's that? The month of Elul. This hints at us, me and you, and we are, so to speak, prisoners, and we have to weep for our mother and father. In this case, we're prisoners to the Yetzer Hora, but we have to weep for all the days. That by means of this, we can come to the total future redemption, because the total future redemption is going to come as a miracle by God. It's going to come by Mashiach, but it all depends on us. We have to be willing to accept it. Karumas, like it's hinted at in our Torah portion, says if this after the month you still want her, then you can take her to be your wife. It says if after 1 month the Jewish people they weep and they internally and they long for God and they want to fix up all the things that they didn't do properly in the previous year, then it says after that 1 month says that God takes the Jewish people again. He renews the marriage vows, takes her back to them, takes her to be his wife. This imprisoned woman becomes his wife. That's the idea of the Mashiach coming, the marriage between the Jewish people and God. And Hainu, like it says, Bayomahu Tikra li Ishi. It says on that day when Mashiach comes, as you will be called my husband. 82. This is in Hosea, in the prophet Hosea. It says on that day, God will be called my husband. Like the rabbis say that in the days of the Mashiach, this will be the marriage. We just learned that in Isaiah, right? It's in Isaiah. Isaiah. We're just in Nun Dalet. That's in this week's Torah portion. It's in this week's Torah portion. Right. Well, it says that we're waiting for Mashiach to come so that God will consummate the wedding. It says that all the time of exile, the time of Matan Torah, when God gave the Torah, it says that was the Irusin, that was the engagement. God got engaged. Mashiach comes, that's going to be the actual marriage. They said by means of this, we'll come to the total redemption. Like it says, that we just did this, but also Chodesh Hachana, this is also The month of Elul, if so, is the month preparation for the big wedding day, namely coming of Mashiach. We make a reckoning of ourselves, and that will speed up the arrival of Mashiach. And also, it's a preparation for the next coming year. Al Pizeh, Mashiach is supposed to come any second, and the coming year is going to be in another, 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Al Pizeh, according to this, we can say the month of Elul is stressed the joining of two things that we just said, these two opposites of doing the work and receiving the reward, receiving the wages simultaneously. At the beginning of the service of God for the coming year is after and a condition and the continuation, the shleimus avoda of completion of the work of the Shana Cholefes. Was when Rosh Hashanah comes, it's just another step in the self-perfection that we strived for in the month of Elul. Month of Elul, we're trying to perfect ourselves. We make a sincere reckoning of what we did in the previous year. How much of our time did we spend devoted to the Creator? How much of our time did we spend devoted to the truth? And how much of the time did we just spend? We just wasted. We just did what we wanted. How much of the time? How much of our energy? How much of our energy was devoted to bringing Mashiach? And how much of our energy was just devoted to maybe bringing a few more dollars home or whatever, passing the day away? Okay, it's not that bringing money home or passing the day away is bad, but it depends on which, how do you say, in which light you look at it. It's not the word. What is that? Something, the word just jumped my mind. Anyway, in which perspective you look at the whole thing. If you look at the perspective as life is serving God, that's very nice, you do commandments. But if you look at perspective that every instant of life is supposed to be in order to improve the world, and you're not supposed to think about yourself, only about bringing Mashiach to create the world, then all of a sudden your expectations from yourself go up another level. So that's what your person should say. On the month of Elul, how much of my time, my energy, my thoughts, my speech and action was devoted to really improving the world according to the way that God wants? How much? So, okay, even if zero, absolutely zero, so that's okay. That's okay. You found out it was zero. Now you can improve. Now can improve. So that's what it is. So it comes out then that the Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, or that's the reward for this service, or the coming of the Mashiach, is just another step in the service that we did the whole month. The Inyan Zan, this is also hinted at in the word Elul. Elul are the first letters of Ani, Ledodi, Vadodi Li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Who's my beloved? God. In the beginning of the service of the month of Elul is in a way of an arousal from below. I am to my beloved. I have to be the one that begins. That's the month of Elul. And afterwards, God reacts to what we do, Dodili. This is especially stressed, the completion of all of our work, the pay, the wages that we receive for all of our work. Namely what? Dodili, that God comes to us. Ani Ladodi is doing the work. Vidodi is Hashem giving us the revelations, the Mashiach, etc. That's God coming revealing to us, but it's all in one word. The unification of Ani Ladodi, our work to God, going up to God, in a way that we get married to God and become one flesh. Dodi Li, that's Hashem reacting to me. Yisrael v'Kodesh Baruch Hu Kol Echad. Jews and God are all one. Kamudgash, like it's stressed in the end of the 40 days on the 4 yuds that which are written in the Sefer Torah. Ani in the Sefer Sof Tevis, the end of the letters. Ani Ledodi V'Dodi Li. What's 40 days? What is it? Why do we get 40 days? Elul is only 30 days. 40 days. It says Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days. After the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, so Moses went up on Mount Sinai for 40 days and he got forgiveness for God. And then he went up another 40 days. He prayed for forgiveness for 40 days. And then he went up a third time for 40 days. And the last 40 days, God said, I will forgive you for the sin of the golden calf. When did that last 40 days end? Yom Kippur. Moses went up the third time on Mount Sinai on the first day of Elul. He was up on Mount Sinai altogether 120 days. So the third time he went up was on the first day of Elul. And 1 month later, after the first day of Elul, is Rosh Hashanah. 10 days after Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur. And Moses came down on Yom Kippur. 40 days after he went up, he came down on Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, that was the day of the marriage of God with the Jewish people. We received the second tablets, the final tablets. Those were the ones that were in the Holy Temple. We received the second tablets on Yom Kippur. And that is 40 days after Moses went up. When did Moses go up? On the first day of Elul. And that's hinted at Elul, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Dalid. That's Aleph, Lamed. Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. Elul, and the 4 Yuds at the end. Yud, 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 Yud. See? That's 40. Yud is 10. 40. So that's the 40 days that Moses was on Mount Sinai. That adds another 10 days. That's Yom Kippur. That's the day that God got married to the Jewish people. He gave them the second tablets. They were given the last tablets. And that's the completion of the marriage of the Jewish people to God in the days of the Mashiach. So we have to remember that Judaism is based on miracles. Judaism is based on miracles. That God took the Jews out of Egypt, that God split the sea, that God gave them the Torah, that God led them through the desert, He gave them food. Miracles, right? But there were things that preceded the miracles. Before the miracles are Dodi Li, that God came to us. But before that, there was Abraham, there was Isaac, there was Jacob. And then Jacob went down with his sons to Egypt. They were there for 210 years. All of that is us doing the work, Ani Ladodi. So Ani Ladodi began with Abraham. And Dodi Li, that began when God gave the Torah, when God took the Jews out of Egypt. And especially when God gave the Torah to the Jews. That was on Yom Kippur. So that it already happened. It's not a new thing that's going to be in the world. It's a thing that already happened, these amazing miracles. That's the essence of Judaism, that God actively works in the world. I mean, why has He been concealed so long for all this time? Right? I mean, He tried to reveal Himself in the first and the second temple, but the Jewish people sort of, they weren't ready. But now they are ready. Now we are ready. We've been 2,000 years, we've been preparing ourselves. That's with Ani Ladodi. We've been giving ourselves to God for 2,000 years and getting burned and killed and raped and all these stuff. 2,000 years, and now it's going to be Dodi Li, one word, the redemption, any second. And to comment, that this marriage between us and God, this is the language of Naso. Naso means elevation, raising the head of the Jewish people, that's the whole idea of Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be the ultimately elevated human being. He's going to be the example for copying. How do they call it? There's a word for it in English. This is 1 second. It's called why these words jump my mind? Anyway, someone who would you like to copy? I'll get the word will pop into my mind. So he's your role model. Oh, there it is. Who is your ultimate role model? Is the Mashiach. Mashiach will be the person who always makes the right choices and who only cares about others, never cares about himself, only about him. That's the thing of King David. That's why King David was the first Mashiach. Didn't care about himself at all, only about the whole world, only about God. That's all he cared about. Read the book of Psalms, you'll see. Moses was also, it says Moses was the first redeemer. He'll also be the last redeemer. There'll be a spark of Moses also in Mashiach. Mashiach will be a teacher like Moses, and he'll be a king like King David. And that will bring about the marriage between the Jewish people. The word marriage also is the word of elevation. The ultimately elevated person will be the Mashiach. It says, Isaiah says, the Mashiach will be Yoram, elevated, the Nisan, and high, the Gova, and exalted, Ma'od, very much. But Al Yado, by means of this, and Ma'od, by the way, is the first letters, is the letters of man, Adam. Mashiach will be the ultimate man. human being. Al Yado, by means of this, Nasa Shlemos and Nisius Rosh, the Kolachad, by means of this, will elevate the head of every Jew. Because the Jewish people, they're the priests of the world, Mamlechet Kohanim, the Goy Kadosh, in a holy nation, Jewish people. And we're here to teach the world. We're supposed to illustrate to the world, be role models for the whole world, what man is supposed to be, how much God loves everybody. And especially by means of the spark of Mashiach, of the spark of the Mashiach, which is in every single Jew. Every single Jew. Every Jew will be elevated and reveal the spark of Mashiach in every Jew. In Kabbalah, it's called Yechida, the fifth level of the soul, the highest level of the soul. Yechida Yachtach, Shem Yuchedet im Yechidu Shel Olam, that's unified with the essence of God. That's where the Jews originated in the first place, and it still is there. That's what it means that the Jews are above time. That's why it's possible for the Jews to receive the reward at the same time they're doing the work, because the Jews are above time. By us, it's a timeline. First of all, we do the work, and then we receive the reward. But in the essence of the Jews, the reward and the work are the same thing. But Dugma, another example is this. In this year, now the Rebbe was speaking in the year Tafshin Nun Aleph, which that's 1991. The Rebbe was speaking in Hebrew. This is Tafshin Nun Aleph, which means that it's 5,751 years after the creation of the world. After the creation of the world, after the creation of man. Man was created on the sixth day. That's 51. Now we're in Tafshin Pei Hey. Tafshin Pei. We're finishing Tafshin Pei, which is not 51 like the Rebbe, it is 85. So we're now 34 years after the Rebbe gave the speech. Okay, so the Rebbe is making a tremendous learning from the implications of each and every letter, what each and every letter stands for. Tafshin Nun Aleph, right? So that was back then. What does it stand for now? Tafshin, first of all, we're not in that year. We're already past 34 years from that year. But we can make up letters on our own. And basically, it's not that different. Different, right, from what it is. In the Rebbe, the year of Tafshin Nun Aleph, that's what Tafshin Nun Aleph, he's rearranging the letters. It should be Tafshin Nun Aleph. That means it should be a year of revealed miracles. Revealed miracles. It's a commandment. It says, this is in a tenaseh, but the letters can be rearranged to be tenaseh. It means elevate yourself. Lashon tzivu, a commandment. Whether regarding to hidgalut, will be at Mashiach, whether regarding to revealing the Mashiach, like it says the Mashiach will be elevated very much, or whether we're talking about the marriage. Word marriage is the same word, the same base. Naseh, not nisuin, to the marriage of the Jewish people with God. That's what's going to occur in the days of the Mashiach. Or in the language of the Midrash called Yalkut Shimoni, it says, Shana Shemelech HaMashiach Niglabo. It says the year that the Mashiach is revealed, Omed Al Gag Beit HaMikdash, shall stand on the roof of the holy temple, for Omer, and he will say, Anavim, humble ones, Jewish people, humble ones, Higia Zaman Gulatchem, come the time of your redemption. The cave and since Shenimseim B'chodesh Achron, we were found in the last month of the year. Efshar, it is impossible to push away, God forbid, the promise of God, Tinaseh. But Tzorichim, and we need, 1 minute. Oh, okay. So the Mashiach said that in Yalkut Simoni, it says the year that the Mashiach comes, he will stand on the roof of the holy temple, and he will say, "Humble ones, the time of redemption has arrived." Now the Rebbe said an interesting thing. He said that there's a Talmud, a Gemara. Where is it? In Tainit, and it says over there that there's such a thing as the temporary replacement. What is it? You gotta put your car into the garage to get it fixed. So they give you a replacement car, right? So the Rebbe said, it says in the Gemara that there's a replacement holy temple. And wherever the Jewish people, the most of the Jewish people are, is that's where this holy temple is, and it's a place where Torah and Judaism is spread out to the whole entire world, right? Spread into the world. It's called Beit Rabbeinu Shebabavel. It's called the house of our rabbi in Babylon, Babel. And when the Jewish people left Babylon, so then it moved to a different place, right? Different place. So the Rebbe said, now in our generation, the Beit Rabbeinu Shebabavel, the holy temple, the temporary holy temple, is in Crown Heights, 770 Eastern Parkway. And the Rebbe brought all sorts of proofs and all sorts of indications and all sorts of this. I mean, it has to be somewhere, right? It has to be somewhere. So the place where Torah and commandments is spread out to the whole entire world is from 770 Eastern Parkway. That's the place. Eastern Parkway. And 770 is the gematria of Beit Mashiach, the house of Mashiach. They already brought it into. Nevertheless, so now the Rebbe is standing on the roof, on the ceiling, which you can say that is metaphorically. Anyway, he's standing on and he's announcing the time of the redemption has arrived. And like you might say, come on, what are you talking about? But the idea of the whole redemption, it has to come. It has to come. And it's not anything new. Moses did take the Jews out of Egypt. All of the Jews are God's chosen people. He took them out of Egypt. It was big miracles that had never been before. And the Torah promises us in the first of the 10 commandments, I am God that took you out of Egypt. It's not just a history lesson. It's telling that God did it and he's going to do it again. We have to believe in the God that does these big miracles, that takes the Jews out. And the Rebbe says the time has come. If you remember, the Rebbe previously said that he is the Mashiach. He said that the previous Rebbe is the Mashiach. He's the leader of the generation. And the one that took his place is also Mashiach. Again, since that were found, I mean, somebody has to be Mashiach, right? So you don't agree that the Rebbe is Mashiach. So pick somebody else. But it has to be according to the criteria of the Maimonides. And you have to do what this Mashiach says. You just can't be a person that says, I'm Mashiach. Do whatever you want. Even since that we're found now in the last month of the year, it's impossible to push this off anymore. It won't be Tafshin Nun Aleph anymore. It has to be done immediately on this Shabbat. And simply in the month of Elul of the year of Tafshin Nun Aleph is the end and the completion of all of our deeds from the whole entire year. So therefore, we receive now immediately, we can receive the payment. We're supposed to be paid when we finish the work. So it says the Rebbe, really we get paid every day. We just by doing the commandments, that's enough of a payment. But okay, let's say you don't want to use the payment that we get according to some sort of a interpretation. Simply, we finished the work of the year. Now is the time that we have to get the reward. The reward is the days of the Mashiach and the raising of the dead. Until the reward from the seventh year. What's the 7,000th year? It says that's the reward of the tzaddikim in the future. But it won't be in the future. It'll be right now. Now will be the future. B'yom zeh. And especially when we're now at the end of this year, and it says when the Rebbe is speaking at the end of the Shabbat, in this moment, really. Okay, by the Rebbe, it was Taf Shin Nun Aleph, means it should be the year Tantiyeh, and let's rearrange it, should be the year of miracles, revealed miracles. And we can change it out. Now it's Taf Shin Pei, but Pei is the same meaning as Nun. Nun means niflaot, and Pei is plaot. Both of them are proper words in Hebrew. It should be a year of miracles. And what is Hey? Hey, make something up that means revealed. Should be a year of miracles. The Hashem of God. Hashem should be the year of the miracles of God. In any case, we're going into Tafshin Pei Vav, and it should be the year of Plaot Ve'od and more. What do you say about that? You can make up your own, but however you want to say, Mashiach has to come now. There's been enough suffering of the Jewish people, and you can see in Israel, things are really changing drastically changing. I'm not talking about what's in the news. You don't see in the news. I'm talking about the attitude of the Israelis toward God and toward the commandments and toward the Torah. The attitude is changing. There's more unity. There's more, I can say a little bit less hatred in in the wind. Right? The leftists in Israel are trying to fan the hatred, but it's going down. It's not working for them. Their numbers are dwindling, and their effect is also dwindling, and it's becoming more and more revealed that this whole October 7th thing, that the whole massacre was caused by them. That they, for some, I mean, it's God forbid, and what I'm saying is just terrible, but they purposely delayed the army from coming in. And it's becoming like sort of, they're trying to keep it they're trying to change the subject all the time and keep it under the surface, but it's becoming more and more really, why did it take the army 6 hours to get there? They were just right next door. Why did it take them? And the place that was where the massacre was, these were like the whole village was it what was it? I forgot the name for a second. Anyway, these were like far leftists, communists. They were pro Hamas, and they wanted to. They're talking about before the massacre. They made meetings with them and groups with them, and that's why they were on the border, to show that eventually we be one people and we will this. And those same people they killed. So the people are starting to realize that you can't trust these Hamas people. You can't trust these little by little. I mean, soon it has to come that the Israeli, how do you say, apologizers, those who, the spokesman for Israel, the Israeli, that they'll say, listen, the land was given to us by God. Up to now, they've been trying to avoid the topic, but it's more and more popping up to the surface. And it used to be that if everybody even mentioned that we are the chosen people and God chose us, God gave it, there was a tremendous uproar. What are you saying? You're a religious fanatic. You're a maniac. You are a Hitler. You are who knows what. Anything possible you could say. That's the cause that you're saying we're chosen people. That's why people hate us. Yeah. And now that voice of opposition to the truth it's becoming smaller and smaller. It's changing. I can see. I go out every day and I put the tefillin on people, and I can see the people who refuse. You see that the refusal is in a totally different way. No, thank you. I say thank you, and I don't want. It almost brings tears to your eyes when you see it sometimes. These people, you see how essentially it brings out the essential good, which isn't Jews. I mean, some Jews are really bad news, but every Jew, nevertheless, is essentially good. And like I said before, you can see maybe now more than ever. I told you yesterday, they had this in a big march, and I saw it on this, Jews for Hamas in New York. So they're against the Torah, and they're against Judaism, they're against Israel, and they're but they're Jews. They will not deny that they're Jews. It's very valuable to them. And if you tell these people, right, these leftists, whatever, you're not a good Jew, they'll say, who are you to tell me I'm a Jew? You're to tell me. Being a Jew is valuable, and they don't know why. They have absolutely no idea why. And the fact is, I also don't know why. I don't know why it's valuable to me to be a Jew. Why? I don't know why. It just is. It just is. And that little point of insanity, that's like the Evan Aluz, the bone that's going to come in the raising of the dead. It never dies. It's always there. It always pops up. So simply, that's the month of Elul. But Chodesh, the month of Elul, this is the day of the 14th day of Elul. So let's see, maybe we can skip a little bit over here. Because by us, on Shabbat is going to be the 13th day of Elul. And by the Rebbe, it was the 14th day of Elul. So it makes a whole learning over there. Okay. In addition, especially this January. Okay. Here we go. This says the Rebbe, by the Rebbe, on Friday, it was the 13th day of Elul. By us, it's on Shabbat. And 13th is this is the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe got married. The marriage, the 13th of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe Yosef Yitzhak, he got married on this day. Let's have a little picture of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Here we go. Rebbe Yosef. Here we go. 1 second. Picture over here. Come on. Why isn't it all coming up? Oh, I'm supposed to do this. There we go. There we go. Beautiful picture. There we go. That's the previous Rebbe. That's the day that he got married. He got married on the 13th day of Elul. 13th day of Elul. Where is this? What did I do over here? Oh, here we go. But the 13th day of Elul, this is the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he got married on this day. They used to cover Shabbat. Yud Aleph and Yud Aleph Elul, that was yesterday by us. This is the day that his father got married. The father, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, he got married on the 11th day of Elul. In any case, the month of Elul is not only the end of the previous year and the beginning for the next year, totally, and the preparation for Mashiach, but also the day, the wedding day of the previous Rebbe and the wedding day of his father. Now, this father, the Rebbe Rashab, let's get a picture of him also. Why not have a picture before we get pictures? Let's have another picture of the Rebbe Rashab. Rebbe Shalom Dober. We got 1 minute. There we go. Here's the picture of the Rebbe Rashab. He got married on the 11th day of Elul. And he was the one that founded the yeshivas of Chabad, Tomchei Tamimim. He was the one that founded the yeshivas. Tomchei Tamimim. Oh. This is the David that, well, Yud Aleph El, this is the day of his father, and that his son who replaced him, and after that, in the continuation of this, on Motzi Shabbat was Tetvav Elul. Tetvav Elul is the day, so Yud Aleph, the 11th day of Elul, is the day that the Rebbe Rashab got married. The 13th day of Elul is the day that his son got married. Of course, years later, his son got married. The previous Rebbe. Tetvav Elul was the year when the Tomchei Tamimim was established. That was right in the middle of the Sheva Brachas of his son. So his son got married on the 11th day of Elul, and 2 days later he announced the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, the father of the previous Rebbe, on the right in the middle of the Sheva Brachos, 2 days after the wedding of the previous Rebbe, he announced the opening of Yeshivas Tomchei Tamimim. In the 7th days, that's what he said. Shemimenu bo, that from it came the Hatzah, that his father said, you be the manager of the yeshiva. And he was appointed by his father to be the manager of the yeshiva. Now, the yeshivas of Chabad are called Tomchei Tamimim, and they were established only to bring Mashiach. Said everyone who learns in the yeshiva is going to be a soldier in the army of the Mashiach. The marriage of each one of them, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad and his son, and all these details, this is the connection, this is connected to the marriage of Knesset Yisrael and God in the days of the Mashiach. Marriage, therefore, Mesaimim, Bechotmim, Sheva Brachot, the last of the 7 blessings, under the wedding canopy, they make 7 blessings for the Mehera Yishama B'or Yehuda B'chutzat Yerushalayim, quickly should be heard in the cities of Jerusalem, in the cities of Yehuda, in the city of Jerusalem, what? And Meheri should be heard. It says the voice of the chassan and the voice of the kala, that the kala will also speak. It says the soon will be heard. And afterwards, the marriage of the leader of our generation, and the leader is everything. That's the previous Lubavitcher. Ubafran, and especially the marriage, the Nisim, especially the. I'm sorry. I misinterpreted this. I'm sorry. Alachat kama v'kama. How much more so the marriage of the leaders of the generation, the leaders of the generation, that's the rabbis of Chabad, and the leader is everything. Now you can say to yourself, what do you mean the Chabad leaders are the leaders of the generation? I mean, is that so? There's so many Jews that are first of all unaffiliated totally, and there's a lot of religious Jews that are not connected to Chabad. Says the Rebbe that the whole point of Chabad is that Chabad is speaking to the Jews, to the Jew inside of every Jew. Whether you're an affiliated, an unaffiliated, a de-affiliated, a re-affiliated, a confused Jew, a logical Jew, or whatever, it doesn't make any difference. You're a Jew. You're a Jew for Hamas. You're a Jew. The Rebbe is speaking to the Jew inside of every Jew. And therefore, he is everything. He's the only Rebbe that's speaking, has a message to awaken the inner Jewish identity of every Jew. Ubafran, and especially the leaders of the Chabad movement. Shemagalim, they reveal the inside of the Torah, because that's what's located at the inside point of every Jew is the Torah. In the way of understanding and grasping, until the way of Yafutzu Mana Techachutza, that your wellspring should be spread outward, that by means of this, Atimar will come the Mashiach. And especially the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he's the leader of our generation, that in continuation to this, B'yachanim says, together with this, he founded the yeshiva of Tomchei Tamimim. Why? Because the whole idea of those people who learn in Tomchei Tamimim, the yeshiva Tomchei Tamimim, they're called Tamimim. What does Tamimim mean? Tamimim means that they are complete, they are wholesome. It also means that they're simple. That they're simple. A tam is someone who's simple. The Torah is supposed to make you small. When you learn the Torah, you realize how amazingly lucky we are to be created and how much responsibility we have to God. How much we cannot think about ourselves. We cannot compare ourselves to anyone. We have to think about the job that we're doing. Who are we doing it for? For God. So comparison to God, we're incredibly small. Where do we get this feeling? From the Torah. But people learn the Torah, they become very, very bloated up. They think they're better than everybody else. Says that's the whole idea of Hasidut. Ideally, you can also learn Hasidut and become bloated, but it's more difficult because Hasidut always points you to God. The whole teachings of Hasidut is just learning about God. By means of learning the secrets of the Torah, the godliness of the Torah, like it says, the Torah, Hashem, Torah as the Nigla, whether the revealed Torah, the hidden revealed Torah, that makes you complete. It makes you simple. That's why the yeshivas are called Tomchei Tamim. We support simplicity. And even more, and not only that, even more, Ella Shalimu the Panimis the Torah, when we learn the secrets, the inside of the Torah, like we're doing, right? Learning the godliness of the Torah, the different worlds, etc. It's understood. Kalimud Asugya, just like we learn something in Talmud. Adam, that the intellect of person unites with the inner intellect of the Torah. It's a yichud nifla, a tremendous unity, that there's no unity like it, and nothing compared to it at all physically in the world. Kolel, including also, they become one flesh. We become one, so to speak, with God. That's the idea of the inside of the Torah. Our soul becomes connected to godliness, not just our intellect. Something like the preparation of the days of the Mashiach, that for the days of the Mashiach, that all the Jewish people, it says, the Rambam says, they'll all be tremendously wise and they'll know secrets, it says. Also, the idea, that's why all the pupils that learn in the yeshiva of Tomchei Tamimim are called the soldiers of Beit David. That they conquer, menatzchim, any force, anything that stands against them. Those people that cherfo ikbas mishichecha, those people that oppose the heels of the Mashiach. Upoilim, the soldiers of Tomchei Tamimim, they bring about a revelation and have coming of David, of Mashiach ben David, in a way that Baruch Hashem la'olam, amen ba'amen. Blessed is God forever and ever. This is the end of Psalm. What is it? For the 89, right? 89. Let's have a look at this. That's what it is. Okay, let me find this one second. Give me a second. 39, right? Yes, 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 yes. One moment. Yes, that's right. 39, 89. The Rebbe was also, this is the year when the Rebbe was 80, 89, 89, going into his 89th year. It was, and now we're standing in a time which is relevant to the next year. Tzaddik Shasiumo, 1992, that by the Lubavitcher Rebbe became 90 years old. It was going into his 90th year. Shasiumo, Bechosmo, the Pasuk Yehi Noam Hashem Elokeinu, B'masi Adenu Koner. That's the end of Psalm number 90. Shetishra Shechina, that the Shechina will rest on what we do. That will be the reward for everything that we have. So what's the point? What are we supposed to do? There's a little bit more, and I think we'll try to finish this on Sunday. A very little bit more, but should we finish it? Okay, let's do it. Finish it. One of the teachings we have is, what are we supposed to do? Number one, advertise everywhere that we are now at the end of all of our work, and we are going to any moment to receive the reward. Kitavo ala oretz, coming to the land of Israel, all of the Jews together. Any second that Jews are going to change their minds and desire Mashiach and want Mashiach, and any second it's supposed to happen, what they want. And so therefore there has to be now, everything has to be pointed at the days of the Mashiach. Preparation for Mashiach, having the attitude of the days of the Mashiach, beginning for learning the Torah and in matters of Mashiach and the redemption and the Holy Temple, Beit HaMikdash. And also even more, the main thing is it should be done in a way of being calm, being certain, and happiness, positiveness, but totally involved with a good heart, including also making happy get-togethers, and especially connecting to the happiness of the Nisuin, the marriage, and the 7 days of Mishta. That's because the previous Rebbe and the Rebbe Rashab, they all got married in these days, and that was also when Tomchei Tamimim was made. In these days, that's the marriage between God and the Jewish people, including the strengthening the custom of the Jewish people to make meals for the poor, something like a preparation for the days of the Mashiach, when it says Yamalei Schok Pino, our mouths will be filled with joy. That in our generation, that the leader of our generation, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that his name is Yitzchak. His name is happiness. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, his name was Yosef Yitzchak. Yitzchak means to be happy. Because of the tzchok v'simcha, he is the leader of our generation, the 8th leader from the Baal Shem Tov. That's what it means. Oz Yamalei Tzchok Pino. Oz is the numerical value of 8. He was the 8th leader from the Baal Shem Tov. Then is made an inyan of Yamalei Tzchok Pino. Our mouths will be filled now. Will not just will be filled. Yamalei they are filled now, present. Therefore, we should advertise in every place that we have a special mission, which is the mission of all those who learn in Tomchei Tamimim. We should do everything we can, and just like Chabad, people who learned in yeshiva of Tomchei Tamimim are spread out all over the world to be lamps to illuminate. We have to educate others, be an example to others. In addition to that every Jewish house should be a house of Torah and prayer and good deeds and charity, like we've said many times. Also, every house has to be something like the yeshiva of Tomchei Tamimim. How? By learning Chassidut in the house, in addition to learning Torah in general. And also, that's the second thing. And the third thing is we have to advertise everywhere that we have to make to make effort to make sure that no one is lacking what they need for the holidays. 30 days before the holiday, in order that should be, we're talking about the holiday, especially of Sukkot, there should be a preparation for Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy, the time of happiness, should be in a way of being calm, and all the necessities of the holiday and also of Rosh Hashanah should be provided. If you look around, find who is needy usually a lot of times people in the community that they're lacking, they don't want to say anything about it. They're embarrassed or they're shy, or they just don't want to. They're willing to learn to live economically, they call it. Says you have to look around and search for those people and find a way to provide their needs. give somebody else money, a friend of theirs money to give to them, make up a story, right? But you have to give them the needs that they have for. There was somebody in Kfar Chabad just recently. He just bought a lot of food and things like that, and he just put it out. And he said, people who want to come can come and just get it. You don't have to sign up or anything. And people came, they got free food. Why not? You got free food with the cans of tuna and the flour and all sorts of good things that were. My wife also, there was also vegetables. May it be God's will that by means of speaking and Kabbalah, and also people took in order to give to others. A lot of people took big amounts. This person put, cans, like thousands of cans of canned goods and things like that, put them out. And a lot of people took in order to give to others. I know people that did that. There were people that were embarrassed to come, and they came and they took for them. They took for them. May it be God's will that by means of talking about these things, that we remember immediately that God should give to every single Jew all that he needs from his full and open and holy and wide hand. And how much more so, and the main thing is that there should be the future redemption by means of the Mashiach, like it says in the Torah portion, Ki tavo la'oretz, we, all the Jews should come to the land of Israel with the base of Migdash immediately, and we should take the first fruits, and we should go to the place where God chose, namely the Holy Temple. Until Siyam Parsha, until the end of our Torah portion, Hashkifa Me'on Kodechecha. This is they used to make a declaration of Bikurim. They say, God, look down from your holy place, Min Hashamayim, Ubarech Amcha et Yisrael, bless your people, the Jews. And this will begin by the main blessing, the most important blessing of the Geula Amiti Tashlima, a complete redemption by means of Mashiach, immediately. Good. Let's stop recording.